Namaste, beloveds. This is Mother with Wisdom, and it's been a while, but here we are with this very important video for this time. This video, let me just get directly into it, okay? Um, these are some things that I wrote up, and I'm going to I stopped writing because I wanted everything to flow, and I didn't want to get so dialed into the grammar and correcting the spelling and the this and the that and the that and the this. I just wanted it to flow. And so let's get into it, beloveds. I titled it A Spiritual Debate Between the Spiritual Eyes and the Physical Eyes. And let's talk about that for a moment, okay? Um, Everything that I do is spiritual. And, whoops, it's been one of those days too. Um, Hold on just a second. Okay, we're back, beloveds. Um, let's continue. A spiritual debate between the spiritual eyes and the physical eyes. Okay, that is what Spirit wants me to kind of center and focus on right now. And I want to get into that because, as you guys know, everything I do is in the spiritual realm, of the spiritual realm, um, being spiritually led from that realm, from that energy, from that um, perspective, from that vantage point. Okay? And so being given this information to to watch the debate first and foremost, to understand what the spiritual message is, and not to get so caught up on the physical. Let me leave the physical alone, okay? The physical appearance of things. And the physical appearance of things is presidential debate, two candidates, two white men born from a specific era in time that we as a collective society are able to look at, able to view, able to review, able to reflect upon, able to learn from. And we must tune in spiritually and be spiritually conscious of everything that is in front of us, the seen and the unseen. And right now we're going to focus on the seen, okay? What was put in front of us? What was set on our table, so to speak, our spiritual table for us to receive? And again, you have President Biden and you have former President Donald Trump. And these two men represent, like I said, an age. They represent a time period. They represent a spiritual age and a coming to awareness as a species of human beings. Okay? So they represent a time change. Okay? And what we're looking at and what we're part of is the change that will be put into place, that we will allow, that we will accept, that we will go forward with. The They are two very different spiritual formats, degrees, angles, visions, knowledge, morals, thoughts and feelings, two very different, two very diverse, that are coming together for us to look at spiritually. These two beings have a long, in our human years, long human history. They have in their history things that they have said, things that they have done, their growth patterns, where they are stuck. All of these things can be observed. Okay? All of these things are to be observed, not through physical eyes, with the attachment to physical thoughts and judgments and conditionings and morals and da-da-da-da-da-da. No. Detach from that. Set that aside for right now. Okay? And I want you to, with your spiritual intention, to see, to learn, to hear, to know, to discern the spiritual messages, the spiritual truth, the spiritual guidance from what is being provided for you, in front of you. Okay? And in doing that, you, again, need to look at the two men, and not just their physical appearance, beloveds. First of all and foremost, they're elders. They are older men. They are older white men. Okay? They're elder white men from two different tracks. One is from wealth, whether scrupulously or unscrupulously attained or maintained. The other is from working class. Spiritually, you need to see this. Spiritually, you need to understand the values, the morals, the goals, the agendas, the understanding of what family is, the understanding of what marriage is, the understanding of what commitment is, the understanding of what loyalty is. Loyalty to the Holy Spirit, first and foremost. Loyalty to your spiritual discernment, your expanding spiritual conscious awareness. Next. Observe these two men and their histories. Listen to what they say. Look at their actions. Both have been in office. Both have served. How do they focus in their service? Physically, spiritually, are they present? Are they dedicated? Are they capable and able to handle what is put in front of them concerning our lives, our futures, our well-being? Whose hands would you rather be in spiritually when it comes to the choice of these two men, based upon how they have carried themselves, conducted themselves as spiritual beings? There is a lot to look at. There is a lot to discern. There is a lot to look at the soul, the seeds that each of them have sown, and how those seeds have grown, how they have tended them, how they not have only tended them, but how they have shared that view and helped others and helped to expand others, helped to feed others, helped to nurture others, helped to uplift others. All of this is very, very important in this presidential competition, race, campaign, contest. It is an inquiry of where we are as divine individuals, because we are going to select what we want to make the rules, make the laws, enforce the laws, enforce the way, who we want to govern us, what we want to govern us, the ways that we want to be governed. It is up to us to vote. And before we vote, we have to view, we have to envision the version that these men present themselves as, these two elder white men. One is very narcissistic and self-serving, and he lies about everything. And not only does he lie, but he is so caught and stuck in his ancient philosophy of himself that he isn't astute. He is not intelligent enough to understand and understand that the things that you have said are now captured on tape. They exist in a realm, in a field, where they can be played over and over and over. The exact words that you used can be played with you speaking them, with you saying them. So you sitting up here and denying that I didn't say that means you're still stuck in a time period where no one could prove it. And that your word would be taken over somebody else's word, even if they were there. That is no longer the case. We live in a technological age now where the recordings are a part of our history. Everything that we say, that you say, is verifiable. Not only to hidden people or certain people, but everybody. And there are beings that no matter what the evidence shows, and them knowing right from wrong, they will still side, choose the liar, the way of the liar. That is a lesser spiritual frequency, that is a lesser light. But it still illuminates. So they're down for it. Because it illuminates and it helps expand what and who they are spiritually as incarnated spectrums and frequencies. Okay? Then you have Biden. Biden's a different type of old man, elder. He is locked into the principles of what a family unit is and how you defend your family, how you protect your family, and the positions of the members and hierarchies in the family. And he is self-sacrificing when it comes to certain things, meaning he will sacrifice himself. Trump will never sacrifice himself. He will always offer up any and everyone in order to save himself, in order to make himself look good. And with knowing that, you have to understand that he will do the same to you. So your views, your needs, your family's views, your family's needs, whether they be medical, spiritual, material, physical, it means nothing to this man because he is self-absorbed. He brings a type of organized chaos. That is what he represents, that the world is used to. The world is used to this image. The world is used to the image that Donald Trump represents in the form of humanity, in the form of human spirituality, being self-serving and self-absorbing and self-absolving. Nothing is ever his fault, and he apologizes for nothing. And he's always right. And if you don't agree with him, then you're his enemy. You're his adversary. Again, beloveds, look at what has been put in front of you. Understand that what you're seeing is the extinction of an age, of a way, of this old white man's way. That is what's in front of you. That is what it is all boiled down to, what it has reduced to. And now you're being asked to choose which version of this goes forward. And remember, it is always the oldest that feeds the young, okay? So, which of these old men are you putting forward to feed the young, to feed the new era, the new eon, the new world, the new spiritual understanding that will be followed by the United States of America and the Americans? Again, beloved, let me get into a little bit more of some of the things that I wrote, and that'll help me stay on point, okay? Again, the title is A Spiritual Debate Between the Spiritual Eyes and the Physical Eyes. Last night I watched the presidential debate between President Joe Biden and former President Donald J. Trump. Detaching from sides and opinions regarding the United States of America's politics with spiritual intent and the expanding spiritual conscious awareness, I allowed myself to be educated on what was spiritually put in front of my eyes for me to see, view, discern spiritually through these two spiritual incarnations serving as human beings. Things that I noticed in no in particular order, but observation of information. First, the body language, the aura, the spiritual energies of Mr. Biden as he walked to his spot, which was not a good spot. Energetically and spiritually speaking, he had on a blue tie. The spot was, how can I say this? There was a lot there in that space, that spiritually, that he occupied, that he stood in, okay? There was a lot of negativity. There was a lot of ill will. There was like a vortex of very dark, very, very dark energies, okay? And he had to physically stand in this and give, serve, okay? And I'm not making excuses or anything. I just want you to understand there are many different ways to see things. And I want you to spiritually tune in to these things instinctively and intuitively. Okay? And I want you to understand the things symbolically, the signs and the symbols. Okay? Because these things are the details. These things, the devil is in the detail, the truth and the lie is in the details. Okay? And so, in looking at what is being presented to you, don't just see the appearance, the physical appearance. Clear yourself, empty yourself of opinions, knowledge, what you think, what you feel, your expectations, all of that. And just see what is there. Gather and glean what is there. And then make sense of it. Let it speak to you. Let it show you what it needs to show you. Let it do what it needs to do. Let it radiate. Let it grow. Let it expand, contract, whatever it needs to do in order for you to see the sum total of the spiritual forces in play in the physical arena. Okay? Now, so getting past the energy at that spot that he was on, and I believe it wasn't a good spot, energetically, spiritually speaking. He had on a blue tie. Mr. Trump was on a faked quasi high as he walked to his spot. Let me explain what I mean by a fake quasi high. Okay? He was in a state of mind. He was in a conscious state where he likes to put himself, where he is untouchable, king of the hill, big daddy, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that is untouchable. Teflon Don. All these names and adjectives, that is the cocoon, that is the web, that is the what was surrounding him. That was his magnetic field. That was his vortex that he was in and radiating. Okay? It's very clear to see. And the spot where he walked was that he claimed was very much for him. It catered to the camera angles, the lights, the so forth and the so on. And the way I wrote this was, Mr. Trump was on a faked quasi high as he walked to his spot, which was the best spot for his vanity and ability to cater and pander to the cameras which he adores. He was wearing a red tie. Now, spiritually, what struck me right away was the contrast of the ties. So I Googled, what does a tie symbolize spiritually? And a lot of things came up, and I chose what mostly called out to me. And, of course, it was a biblical verse, and it came from Romans 12, verse 2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. And by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Now, this came from www.openbible.info/topics/necktie. And I will try to remember to put that in the description. If not, I will share this on my Facebook page, so it will be there. And for your own benefit, I suggest you Google the spiritual, what does a man's tie, symbolize spiritually, okay? And you can glean and gather your own revelations and information and see what speaks to you. Remember, this is about spirituality, beloveds. These two beings, they're representing how can I say this, spirit? They're representing battles. They're representing champions, chosen champions that are going to clash. And then the winner is the one who you have to listen to, who is the one who gets to rule, is the one who is considered the right one, okay? And this is a way that is ancient among human beings. It is the most ancient of competitions. It is the most ancient of ways and means of anointing and choosing a leader in the physical realm to represent. And so our champions, our human physical champions, are Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Everything else has been boiled away. Everything else has been reduced to these two men, to these two ways, to these two spiritual incarnations and representations of spiritual agendas. Okay? And what you see boggles the mind, first and foremost, when you look at it from the context of these are the champions. And so you look at them and you say, well, neither one of them look physically fit enough to be a combatant or to serve as a champion physically. And so you have to say, okay, that's the wrong lens to look at this, because it does not make sense. It does not add up. It is not reasonable when you look at it from a physical point, from a standpoint. But when you look at it from a spiritual standpoint, from a place of spiritual knowledge and spiritual discernment, from a place of expanding spiritual conscious awareness of the planet, of the galaxy, of the universe, of the cosmic forces and cosmic laws in place. And you understand that everything as above is below. And you see these things coming together. And you look at these two men as Tyrannosaurus Rexes. Okay? And they're fighting for dominance. And one is not fighting fairly, and the other one is trying to be nice. Okay? And because he's being nice, it appears that he's being overwhelmed and overcome. And because of this, there's an anxiety. That anxiety is felt spiritually by everyone who is observing. The energies that are playing out between the dynamics of these two cosmic forces, represented as spiritual incarnations in these two men, is very significant. And it is very much intentional. And it is very spiritually intentional. It is prophetic, as a matter of fact. It is fulfilling prophecies. It is allowing those with spiritual eyes and spiritual ears to tune in, to understand, whoa, there's something deeper going on here. And I need to spiritually, consciously pay attention, focus, not be distracted by the entertainment industries blowing up and doing this, and who's zooming who, and who did this to that, and who did that to what, and blah, blah, blah. All of the casting couch and the trafficking and the diddy-diddy-daddy-daddy-diddy-diddy-daddy-diddy-diddy-daddy. All of this is bubbling up to light. All of it's coming up because of these two old men. These two old men represent systems. They represent waves, static waves, static rays, okay, of energy and of light that has been ruling this planet in a very long time. And we are just now finding relics, unearthing things from underneath the earth and the water and from the mountains. So I want you to understand the unearthing of wisdom reinforces the spiritual message of past, present, and future. It reinforces the wisdom that was sown and can be reaped from the birth, death, and rebirth cycles. These are spiritual cycles. It is more than human nature that you are able to observe when you tune in. all of this for me in 2024 began to shift and really be centered on the moth and the butterfly. And I've spoken of that in a lot of my videos. But if you've been following Mother with Wisdom for a while, you know the theme of butterfly and metamorphing, changing, growing, existing as in one conscious state, being carried over into another conscious state, and you taking the time to allow those states to finish, to complete, come into completion. Okay? So that you have the right amount of nourishment, nutrients, what you need in order to finish the next phase. So, beloveds, do not rush the process. Do not sit up here and say, well, why is it taking all these aeons and all these civilizations and all of this technologies and all these wars and all this competition and all these games to arrive at the spiritual conclusion that we are sovereign beings here with a purpose, and that everything is one, and that nothing is truly separated, even though it appears to be so. It appears that way only to the mind and the feelings. The true self knows everything is connected. It has no doubts, it has no fears, it has no expectations. It knows that everything flows and that everything will sift and silt and wash away and filter and come to where it needs to be. Because it is the design. It is how it was designed. It was designed spiritually. Was conceived spiritually through the wisdom of spirituality, of the Holy Spirit. And then it manifested. Then it began to materialize. Then it began to gel, like jelly, okay? And jello. So it's always from one state into another. But just because it melds the states, or it marries and becomes one, that is the wisdom of discernment. There is no separation. There is no divorce. There is no death. There is no grieving that should go on and on and on and on and on because of loss. Because you never lose anything. It takes on a different form. This is represented in those ties, those neckties, the blue and the red. These are spiritual colors and spiritual frequencies. And these spiritual frequencies are separate. And what we're being shown is that they need to do what, beloveds? Instead of being red and blue, they need to come together and be purple. Okay, they need to be the violet ray. They need to be that one consciousness. They need to be married. They need to know how to get along. They need to know how to talk to each other. Not cheat on each other. Not go behind each other's back. Not stab each other. Not betray each other. not compete as though one is superior and the other one is inferior. And they need to take the place of. Both are necessary for discernment to be one. We as a species need to start being more spiritually aware and stop being so physically attached through our feelings and our thoughts and expectations that come through grooming, that come through being programmed, being conditioned. I want you to understand and understand that the spirituality and the physical material world, the spiritual world and the physical material world are one. But as human beings, we are unconscious 99% of the time of the spiritual reality in which we exist. As spirits, incarnated spirits, we don't see ourselves as that. We see ourselves as flesh beings only. And seeing ourselves as flesh beings only, that means we only cater to our fleshly instincts and fleshly intuition of what we desire, what we want, what we crave, what we think we need, gotta have and can't live without. Material world is a world of want, of manifesting, of making something happen, of bringing it into form, of conceiving, conception, birthing the reality, sowing the seed and watching it grow, watching it materialize. Spirituality already is all in existence. It contains past, present, future. It does not see those things as different realms. It sees it as one stream. The hardest thing in the world for a human being to do is to grasp, is to discern its own spiritual sovereignty as a choice, as a way of being. It's not something you do. It's not something you make happen. It's something you are. And this being requires you to allow yourself to be that and authentically be that in the moment. Hold on 1 second. Okay. I want to bring it back to some more things that I wrote, beloveds. Okay, so let's look at that. The other scriptures were also very informative and eye-opening as far as spiritual question of inquiry, and that spiritual inquiry, beloveds, asks you not to be conformed to this world, okay? And the conforming of this world means that you believe in, you accept the image, you accept the dialogue, you accept the philosophy, you believe the doctrination and the dogmas that are told to you and taught to you, okay? Just like we have been taught that we evolved from apes. And that our intelligence is just by lucky chance evolving, and our consciousness and our grasp upon things is, this is all just chance. I want you to understand that is the physical appearance that we are told to see and to accept and to reason upon and to agree with. But, beloveds, the spiritual essence of who you are as a spiritual being, it cannot, it will not, it does not agree with that. You know that there has to be more. Instinctively, intuitively, through your spiritual instincts and your spiritual intuition. No, that doesn't satisfy the questions. That doesn't satisfy the genetic knowing, the genetic memories. That doesn't satisfy, that doesn't make sense. And no, I'm not just going to shut up and agree with you just to say you're right, because you have so and so and so, and you've wrote this paper, and you've got ABC and PhD and blah 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 behind your name. No. As a sovereign spiritual being of choice and free will, I choose to see things through spiritual conscious awareness now. I'm no longer conditioned by do it like I say, stop asking questions, just accept it, bend over, this is the way it's done. Everyone has to go through this. It's the way of the world. You're not going to change it. This is it. This is your lot in life. You know, Eve, as a daughter of Eve, sit down, shut up, and swallow it. Don't talk back. No. 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 Understand spiritually why that narrative does not work. It does not work because the divine feminine was also created in the image of God equally, in the image of the Great Spirit equally at the same time. And although information was destroyed, burnt up, buried and hidden, and beings that carried that knowledge were destroyed through genocide. The spiritual wisdom, the spiritual answers are popping up. They're growing still because they have been seeded in a way. So many cycles and seasons bring you right back to where you need to be. The same choice is given to you. Do you want to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, or the tree of life? Don't eat from the tree of good and evil. No matter how good it looks, no matter how much your imagination fantasizes, the thoughts that draw you and call you and whisper to you and echo to you. I'm going to taste so good. You know you want some. You'll be just like God. You'll never die. That's why God don't want you to have none. But I'm here. And all you have to do is eat. That's it. Just a little bite. Just a little nibble. You know you want to. What does it taste like? Does it taste like this? Does it taste like that? It looks like this. It looks like that. Don't you want to know? If the Great Spirit was so good, He wouldn't hold this back from you. Why He doing you like that? Why is it doing you like that? And you get to I'm missing something. Yeah, that's not right. That's not equal. I should be able to have what's here, and I should be able. You made me, so why can't I taste it, And you made it, so everything is really your fault, just to say that, oh, you shouldn't do that, that don't make no sense. And I think I should be able to. Okay, I really think that I should be able to, because I want it. I want it. I want to taste it. I want to be like you. That's my whole point in wanting, this fruit, is because I want to be like you. Has nothing to do with me and what I want. No, no. I have the best intentions of wanting to be like you, wanting to be more like you, by doing the very thing that you told me not to do. Instead of talking to you and asking you, well, why'd you make that tree, and then say we couldn't eat from it, and what is really death, and why would you create us to be alive and then make this tree in here, and what is the lesson of all of that, and where does all of this lead to? And that's kind of deep. Can you break that down a little bit more? I need some more information on that, okay? And did you know that there's a talking snake over there that blah, 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 blah? No. selfish, self, me, I, narcissistic, the reasonings, the rationales, silence the spiritual conscious awareness. And all you hear are your thoughts and your wants and your desires, and they're loud. And you want to be satisfied. You want to be happy. You want what you want because now you're craving it. And you get it. And it gets you kicked out of a consciousness that you didn't even get to truly learn about. And instead now you have to deal with shame, blame, guilt, death. Because this is what you chose. Because of your attraction to what you saw physically. But spiritually, you weren't conscious. You weren't aware. You weren't tuned. You weren't aligned. You didn't even care what it meant spiritually, symbolically. All you knew is that your flesh wanted it. Your eyes saw it. You craved it. And the fact that you couldn't have it, you were told no. Oh my goodness gracious. That just whetted your appetite for it. That just made it the focal point of every single waking moment. I wonder what it tastes like. I wonder how it's going to taste. I wonder if it's juicy. I wonder if it's salty or if it's sweet or if it's bitter or I wonder I wonder I want to know. Even if it means doing what I was told not to do, I deserve to know. I have the right to know what it tastes like. We get so led astray by what we see, the eyes, the physical eyes see, and what we have been conditioned to think of as beautiful, as pretty, as good, as wealth, as something to be desired. This was taught to us. This was taught to us through flawed, broken, ignorant beings. Beings who could be influenced by a talking snake. With no questions asked. Because the consciousness was that unconscious. Beloveds, when you are unconscious of the spiritual realm and all you see in front of you, around you, is the physical world, then you are truly lost. And you are in hell. because that is a separation from the divine consciousness. And everything that is going on in hell is designed to keep you an inhabitant of hell. It's to keep you distracted. It's to keep you from your spiritual, sovereign, conscious awareness, which is a superpower, which allows you to manifest paradise on earth, heaven on earth, freedom from chaos, freedom from the imprisonment of desired thoughts and feelings. It gives you a discipline because you understand that's not real. That's an illusion. That's a test. That's temporary. That is surface. That is not substance. That's not going to satisfy me. I'm wasting my time with that. There comes a point, like in this debate that we're speaking of, that you need to be spiritually aware of what you're seeing. You need to understand why it's all come down to these two very old men. To these two very old men, okay? And what's under the surface. This is going to blow your mind. But there's a black woman with access to the presidency as vice president. You've got to understand which of these figures brought her there. And you've got to understand the opposite. Which does not want her there, which one is attacking all females as far as their reproductive bodies, the autonomy over their own bodies. These two men are ideologies. They are ways for you to consciously select, fine-tune, put in as foundations what you want and how you want to build back better worlds. Okay? One flat out tells you, I want to make it like it used to be. When women didn't have no rights. When they was barefoot and pregnant and you could do what you want and beat them and cheat on them and they better not say nothing. Not even to their own mamas. And their mamas better not say nothing. Because you just a woman too. And then you have another man who lost his wife and his daughter in a car accident. And so he understands and values women in a way that Donald Trump will never comprehend. And this old man, this Joe Biden, even though he is physically challenged, spiritually, he says, I am here. Use me. I will champion your cause. Females, divine females, I will fight for you. Put me in. I got you. But we've got to get the rest of these people in line. And it's not on me, it's on you. You run vote and put them in place, in power. And they don't want to empower women. So I can only do what I can do. It's up to the masses. And the masses must begin to see things spiritually instead of physically. Because if you keep looking at this physically, you feel hopeless. You feel, what the hell? But you need to understand the reduction principles. You need to understand when that scripture said, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God. So this is all about the will of the Great Spirit. It's not about the will of man to rule over man. It's about man understanding that he has dominion, but only through the Great Spirit. And that office of being an incarnated spirit and holding that is sacred. We are given sacred duties. We have a sacred purpose. Existence carries a sacredness with it, not just a physicality or the fulfillment of sensual pleasures. And it takes spiritual discipline to keep yourselves in check. And it takes you to understand all is one. But you have to be aligned. You have to be centered. And you have to be able to spiritually see how things are connected. And what they mean, what they symbolize, what the sign of it is, what the wisdom of it is. You have to be able to discern that. So if something is of a certain color, frequency, spectrum, representation, form, fashion, understand the spiritual principles that lie within it and allow that to communicate the truth of its essence to you. And instinctively, from your spirit and your intuition, you'll know what's good and what's evil. And through discernment and practice and discipline of yourself, and that involves forgiveness and being gentle with yourself. Look at how far it's taken us to get here. In my lifetime alone, look at how many presidents we've gone through. Look at how many ancient civilizations there are leaders to study. What has changed? We like to say technology. what we're unearthing and what is coming to the surface and coming to our spiritual conscious awareness is that many things, flight, all kind of spiritual things have always existed. These spiritual things have always communicated. So they were always manifested physically, even when the world reset, as it has a couple of times. And you start all over. As you know, beloveds, I pull cards, and so I'm going to get into that, and I'm going to break it up into two videos. So I'm going to stop this video because this one's just the speaking, just the talking, and I think I've covered a lot. And beloveds, what I say, what I have said, is to get you to thinking for yourself. It is not to tell you what to do. It is not to tell you how to pick a side. It is to tell you how to spiritually look at things, and that you spiritually need to be aware of things, and to spiritually pick these things apart, and to look at them, and to glean and gather the message, the information that is there, and to be led by that information, and to be calmed and soothed in your spirit by the information that is ancient. And to understand that to be here, to be grasping it now, shows you the survivor that you are, lets you know that you are who the ancestors have been waiting for. Okay? You were marked for this time. Now you need to be spiritually aware of who you are in order to carry out your purpose. So don't be distracted by this man's world, or the things that are going on, or the words, or the music, or the this or the that. Those are physical. It's a physical reality. The physical reality is going to be erased. It's going to be washed away. The spiritual reality is going to keep living, keep expanding its spiritual consciousness. Okay? Grasp a hold of that. And that is going to do it for this portion. Next, I'll get into the cards. And I've already pulled the cards, beloveds, and I called on Mama as I was pulling them, each one of them. Mama, Mama, Mama. And so the cards that came forth, they're going to take a wrecking ball to the physical world, to the physical reality of what you thought, what you think. Okay, they are going to be the tool and the essence to help you open up and expand your spiritual conscious awareness. Okay? And so that's the next video. So I'm going to stop this one here, 113:45. And we will go forward with the next video, which will be the cards, beloveds. Thank you.